On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains.
Coming to you straight from San Diego, California. Let's welcome our host, April Mahoney.
So welcome to the Edge, Queen. I'm so glad to have you all the way from London. From London town, Brains, there she is. Our guest, our tarot card reader, Reiki master. Oh yes, this is Tania Wiemer. And Brains, I'm trying to bring you everything that the world has to offer to get us through this. Because the United States, not even the United States, this is a worldwide pandemic. This is a worldwide emotional crisis. This is civil rights and our civil liberties being put on attack. You know, it's opening up old wounds. And so, you know, like they say, you have to play the cards that you're dealt. And so I have a woman here that masters in that, in tarot card reading. Now look, Brains, I'm not going to explain myself. I'm not going to have to justify what I do. I believe in what I believe in. But there are energies out there, there are forces out there, there's energies, there's spirits, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world. And I'm going to bring it all front and center, okay? Because we need to try whatever it is, and we need to understand. See, that's the problem with the world right now, with all the judgments, because you come ignorant. And ignorant means not knowing. And until you have been exposed and it's been explained, you cannot make an informed decision. Am I right, Tanya?
You most certainly are, April.
Okay, so thank you, baby, for being here on the edge with me and my brains. We are happy to have you. Tell my brains a little bit about you and what you're doing there in the UK. How do you show up in the world?
So, April, what I do, as I explained to you before, it's very difficult to kind of put it into a completely little dissected way, but I obviously use tarot cards as a divination tool. It just basically helps people when they're in situations of being stuck, and they might need that little bit of help to kind of really get out of a situation with a little bit of guidance, really. I also use horoscopes and the astrology to kind of help people also see things in a different perspective, using as many different variations of tools that we possibly can, just to try and unpick things. It just gives us a little bit more of a perspective on what's going on and around, and hopefully with that information that they're able to kind of have that conversation with myself, and I can help them move on out of those stuck cycles.
But where did this originate from? You know, how does somebody get an idea to create a modality of cards, and each card has a specific meaning?
Yeah.
How you pull the card. We're gonna talk about tarot first, and then we're gonna go into astrology, and then we're gonna blend the two. So where did this come from? I mean, you know, and why are people so afraid of it?
Well, to be honest with you, I think people are very scared of cards. I suppose what people think is that some people think it's the old medieval witch type of thing. People think it's scary, it's a dark entity, and it's actually really not. I mean, this is when you think about it, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, going all the way back pre-Roman in some instances. And up until the medieval times, obviously there were the witch hunts, and people thought it's a really dark, demonized thing. People are scared of maybe some of the really old versions of the cards when you look at the pictures on them. But whilst you say kind of the two separate entities, tarot card and astrology, the tarot cards actually do have a huge it's a parallel really with astrology, because you can actually, when you look at the tarot cards, there is a lot of astrology in the tarot cards. The two actually work amazingly well together. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm making kind of sense with that, because when you break the tarot decks down, okay, you have them into 4 suits, and the 4 suits are 4 elements, which are also, when you look at astrology, water, air, fire, and earth. These are the 4 elements, and they're also the 4 elements of astrology, and they're also broken down into the tarot cards. It's a massive thing. It's not so, as I say, when you're talking about it, breaking it down that simple.
Okay. Well, life is not simple, so I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now tell us about astrology.
So astrology, in the way that I use it alongside the tarot cards, because it also gives us what's going on the here and now. When we do a tarot card spread, we're talking about past, present, and future. With the astrology, we can kind of navigate in exactly the same way, past, present, and future. And with that, it gives us a really good base to go where we were before, where we are presently, and where we would like to move into the future. It just gives us that extra bit of tool, I suppose, to actually look at what are the best moves, how can we kind of change our perspectives again into moving forward with the best of decisions. Knowledge is power.
Right. But knowledge is power only when it's applied.
Absolutely. But when I give the guidance to the people, as you say, I can only give people guidance of what they come to see me with, and hopefully with a fresh perspective, they can move forward in the best way they can, in order to kind of make decisions based on that. It doesn't mean they have to take that advice, but it's helpful advice sometimes.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot of people that think that it is it's setting preconceived ideas and notions and planting seeds into your mind. But you know what, Brains, you have to be able to edit and filter whatever it is. If you're not feeling it and it's not, in synchronicity to where you are on alignment, that's okay. You got the information, you put it over there. It may surface, it may never surface. Again, because nobody knows the future. I don't believe that. I believe that we can get premonitions, that we can have insight, that we can have perspective, that we can manifest. But I don't believe anybody's a fortune teller. So, and that's just me, So, so tell me a little bit about Reiki. How do you incorporate your Reiki?
Well, just go back onto that point of what you just said about nobody can kind of depict the future and all the rest of it. What I can say is, as I say, when we look about cycles of change, okay, and again, like we said about like the opinions, every single day there's an opinion. When we look at media, how that's presented, it's about kind of really making decisions based on, like you said, like a fact. A fact is only a fact because it's a form of opinion. Sometimes we're in a situation where there's so much overload of information that comes towards us, we get stuck or confused around what's going on. Okay, so my job, it's not about kind of saying this is how it's got to be, this is how it is. Okay, it's about kind of sitting there with the person. They're an amazing tool to use. Astrology is an amazing tool to use to kind of like depict about the situation you're in at the time, and kind of making an informed decision yourself, because it's not my opinion, it's somebody else, how they're feeling about a situation, and kind of unpicking that scenario and giving them a variation of ways to navigate in the, I suppose, the safest way, where somebody's not criticizing, or it's not about de-skilling somebody, it's about kind of like helping them with a process to kind of pick their way, navigate through in the most safest, best way for them, in the most logical way for them. Does that make a bit more sense as well, the way I'm putting that across?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I said. That's why we're here, to learn and to get clarification. All right. So now, tell my brains how all this found you.
So when I was, I've always, to be honest, been interested in tarot cards. It was never, I couldn't really say to you one way or another why. It was something when I was very young.
Tanya, what we're going to do. So Tanya, please tell me, how did Reiki, astrology, and tarot find you?
So as I say, when I was little, it's always been something that I was particularly drawn to. It wasn't a case of, you know, I went out looking to do reading tarot cards or anything. It was just something that I was naturally drawn to doing. And as I got older, I guess I kind of crossed paths with people that were into more spiritual practices. I kind of went off course, if you like, when I joined spiritual groups like circles and things like that, where I got to meet people, and I was very fortunate to meet like mediums and different people that were into different variations of spirituality. One was a Reiki master who took me under her wing and actually taught me. I was lucky enough to have or learn Reiki. It was Sakine Reiki, and then I went on to do my Reiki masters. I never really used it. I kind of did. I did massage therapy, and I incorporated the Reiki and crystals into that, and did some sort of healing work and working with different people. But it was always the tarot cards that I was drawn back to. And it was something that I kind of, like you said, there's a lot of skepticism, and people think, oh, I've got maybe a view on it, like it's witchcraft or it's dark work or anything. And hopefully with what I do, it's proven people wrong, really, because it can also be, as I say, when I've used the cards, when I used to do, because I did phone line readings as well, and I kind of got into different ways of using the cards, that I fell more and more into it and got a bit more braver, I guess, once I stepped into my own way of kind of thinking, do you know what? I would like to put it out on Facebook. And I've been very, very fortunate, actually, that people that have kind of come across my page have embraced it. And I was quite surprised, actually, how many people have actually found it, in a sense, a way of, I guess, using it to, like I say, get out of stuck situations. I use it in almost like a therapeutic way.
Right.
It's something that they've found that has been quite an essential part of their growing process. I think as well, people.
Tanya, there's a lot of work, and it's a lot of heavy lifting, because you're opening yourself up physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. What do you do to cleanse yourself to make sure that as you work with individuals, that your conduit is clear? I love to ask people that, because everyone's different.
For me personally, I'm quite a loner, and I'm somebody that, although I bring people into my space, and I deal with their issues at that time, I'm only, like I said, I use the cards in a way. It's not my opinion, it's not my feeling on it. Okay, so like I said, when somebody comes to me and they're opening up about sometimes some very, very personal, and sometimes it's their secrets that they're sharing with me, I only take it on for that hour or that hour and a half, and then I let it go. I don't, it's not personal to me, it's very personal to that individual. And as I say, I'm working with that individual for that period of time. So it's very important to me to take it in a process that I detach myself from that. And that's what I do. And I do find, doing that, I do things like meditation. I do kind of go out for a walk. I will sage my area. I do anything in terms to kind of, from a mind, I don't allow that to burden me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So you have straight boundaries. So last night was a full moon, okay?
It was.
And it was a special moon. And because there's been so much emotion that I have been feeling, I've been emotionally drained, I've been crying, I've been working really hard. I went to bed early. Okay, I didn't even want to experience it, because the moon has a very strong effect on me. It always does, always has. And so tell me a little bit about what that full moon was like last night, and how can we use that for some guidance, for some inspiration, as to what are we going through right now.
Okay, so April, I just wanted to clarify a few things, because obviously we have a new moon, okay, then we have a full moon, and then we've got the eclipses, okay. So yesterday, yes, it was a full moon, all right, but when we go over the month, okay, so we'll start off with a new moon, okay, or it can be called a conjunction, okay. And this is where we set out our new intentions. This is usually about when we have a new moon. Okay, this is about going introspective. So this is about ourselves, what our intentions are, what we want to put out there. As we go throughout the month, we'll go through that period, okay, where we're kind of like reevaluating or assessing or thinking about those things we want to change. Then we'll come into that full moon, which is what yesterday was about, okay. It was an eclipse on top of a full moon, okay. Now a full moon is about the things where, or it can also be called an opposition, okay. And this is when you would try to accomplish things. So we've gone from a new moon to where we've got to that situation, to that culmination of those things that we've wanted to accomplish, okay. And it's also where we'll stand there and then review about those accomplishments and maybe what those obstacles or pitfalls have been up until that culmination of the full moon, okay. Now, when we have the eclipses, and this is where people get a bit frightened or scared about that whole process, because when people talk about eclipses, they go, oh my God, it's when things are going to be removed. It's a frightening process. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And it's a trepidation of, you know, what's going to happen around that. And it brings up fears or upsets. The thing is, when we have well, it was a partial moon eclipse, okay, what happened on the 5th of June, on Friday. And this was an ending of a 6-month cycle from December, okay, up to this point. And what we're going to be going into now from this eclipse will be a next 6-month period of where this is all about in different areas. If we're going to talk about a collective for everybody rather than overcomplicating it. But this eclipse now going into the next 6 months will be all about, because it's in Sagittarius, this eclipse is happening. This is all about how things are going to be removed, okay, and it's around relationships. Now, this relationship, when you think about Sagittarius, is about travel, it's about philosophy, it's about religion, it's about further afield. So this is where this element of this eclipse is going to start looking at and reviewing about our immediate space, okay, what's important to us initially at this point, and what will maybe be restricted in sense of going further afield, that adventure, how we can make that immediate environment that we're in and around with ourselves and relationships much more harmonious. Okay, what needs to stay, what needs to go. If I've explained that okay?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So go ahead and pull us a couple cards collectively.
Okay.
Can you do that collectively?
I certainly can.
All right.
So, like I say, talking about at the moment where we're saying about, as I said about these Sagittarius, this eclipse here. This is all going to be, as I said, around where restrictions are going to be placed on us around our immediate environments, how we can make them more, in general, okay, a safer space, what people and what values we're going to be having on and around this situation where things may become volatile at times as well, as we've seen playing out, okay, at the moment, about how other people can be educated, how other people can be compromising on different opinions, whether that's even going to be possible. Okay, so we're going to be seeing more and more of this playing out over the next few months, and I'd say more extremely over the next 4 weeks. Okay, moving throughout, and there's going to be a lot of changes around that. The first two cards that we've got around us, okay, is where we're starting to open our eyes up, okay, about these restrictions, these opinions, how we're going to start seeing more
hold the card up. Hold the card up to the screen. Yeah, so people can actually see what the card is.
So this is the Two of Swords here, okay. This is about our higher and our lower minds, okay. All right, and where we're going to try and strike that balance between higher knowing, maybe kind of information coming up, coming in. This is all around the media. This is about facts, finding out facts, whether we're going to be able to compromise our own values, okay, our communication, what we're putting out there, what's coming in. It's about being open, more open and receptive to maybe diverse ways of thinking. Maybe how we were thinking before was very narrow-minded, okay, and it's being open and receptive and going against maybe what our own natural instincts were to be before, maybe what we've been told before, okay. So this is kind of like opening up and not necessarily going along with what we're necessarily told, what we're seeing, okay, what we knew to be true before. There are going to be a lot more things opening up around us so we can reevaluate things. Even though, as I said about the travel, we've got the Seven of...
You got to hold it still for a second because I want people to see I want people to actually see the card. All right.
Okay, this is about the Seven of Cups. This is about options, okay. What options are open to us? There may be more limited options open to us because we know we're going through this period of restriction. Okay, what's going to be more open to us is going back to this, which is lots of information coming towards us. What's going to be restricted, however, is maybe, as I said, the travel element, where we're going to maybe find other resources coming in. Maybe, as I was saying about this travel going on, okay, what's going to be opening up to us, okay, and what information is going to be told to us about maybe restrictions around stuff, okay. We've got, going over here, we've got the Queen of Wands. Okay, now it's funny because...
hold it there still so we can see the card. Okay.
This card here is typically a fire sign card, okay.
Do you have it upside down, or is it upside down?
Yeah, it came upside down, okay. So this card here is a fire sign female, all right. So this can be Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. We've then got the Five of Wands, which again, this is like triumph over battles, okay. We've then got the Moon card, which is interesting because this is then going into that full culmination, all right, from what started at the beginning of the month, coming all the way through to the end of June, going into July, okay. Now, what these three cards here would be telling me when I'm looking at it is, if we're talking about collectively over what's going on at the moment, okay, this is where, when we look at this can be about anger. This can be about not being able to step into our full power, maybe being restricted from that. So going back to this beginning of it, okay, would be looking at how we're trying to open ourselves up to information coming in, okay, even though we may not be fully aware of all of those facts. When we're looking at the options that are open, obviously there have been restrictions around kind of voicing our opinions, maybe those opinions or sharing those facts, getting all of the knowledge, being maybe angry and upset about not being able to voice over our opinions, our feelings, okay. Hoping, there's still that element of hope, okay, that justice might be able to be taking place, that we're going to be able to like carry out, even though there's been all of these things in the past that have been restricted from that, okay, that we're still maybe going to be able to achieve something from this, all right, these restrictions. going into the full sense of like over a month period, okay, when we're looking at this situation, that maybe some of the things that we thought, when we look at the moon here, about things being revealed, emotions being able to be kind of let out, that there may well be some culmination or at the end of that month, okay, where things might start to be growing from that point. Like I said to you about the accomplishment, what have we achieved by the end of this month with our intentions and being open to sharing information overall, okay?
Okay.
The one thing I will say about all of this is that we do have this recognition and reward card here. Okay, so actually recognizing that things need to change, and even though there's been very difficult periods, and at the end of this month's cycle, that there will be something that, even though at the moment it looks very bleak, very difficult period, that there will be something good that comes out of it, even though it's going to be a very painful and difficult transition throughout this period.
Well, brains, there's always hope. And so, again, it's in the cards. Astrology is very real. It's been here for centuries. The greats like Einstein, there's great solar astrologists that have really found great wisdom, great sources. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. And I'm trying to sit with this for a minute and let it resonate with me and see how it might apply, because there is great pain. And this is not a new pain. Excuse me. This is a reopening of a very old wound. It's like somebody's pouring salt into it.
I think the most interesting thing is like I just said about with those cards there, and I've just literally pulled these ones, and I hope that you sort of saw that as it happened. Like I said, the majority of this, I mean, I could obviously go into. I've not probably explained it so well, and I know at the moment it's very difficult because it's not just about having a new moon.
Right.
We've got the astrology at the moment. We've got a lot going on about we have a Gemini transition here. We've got a lot of planets going on. It's not just so black and white as to be able to kind of sit here and say, oh, right, that is just how it is. There's a lot more information going on. But what I will say is what came out of the card series, we had this release card, okay, which is what I'm saying. This eclipse cycle is going to be releasing a lot of. It's not just with the events that's happened. As I say about the young man, bless him, who tragically died in a situation that should never have happened. Okay, and it's a very it's affected everybody. I would say even in England, it's affected us massively. There are things that are going on, and quite rightly so from that whole thing. And it's not just that. We've got all of the situations financially that are going on that are impacting globally at the moment. There's a lot of feelings of insecurity that are coming around from all the coronavirus stuff that seems to have gone off out of nowhere at the moment, that will be coming back in. But this is giving people a chance to release a lot of ill feelings, a lot of uncertainties. It may well be coming out in the wrong ways at the moment, but that's what happens when a band-aid gets taken off. It gives people the opportunity to actually stand up, and all right, maybe in the wrong ways coming together at times, and having a lot of mixed views and a lot of mixed opinions coming out into one whole crescendo. But what might happen from that is actually bringing people to get together to be able to create a complete diverse way of getting just the general, us minions, let's just say, be able to actually voice up and say what we really, really feel, and getting it across out there in and getting people to understand that things do need to change. The way we're going to do that coming together is by hopefully people coming together and uniting, even though it may be at times one subject with many different points of view within that, but kind of finding a blend of ways about putting all of those perspectives together, because that's what people want to happen, and then changing things for the better. I think the worrying thing at the moment is there's so many things going on. It's not just any one subject. It's kind of trying to get people to understand that from each different point of view, the one thing that we want to do, whatever those different points of view are, is come together and understand there is room enough for every single individual to live side by side. And it's not about, even though, like you said, you don't necessarily believe in what I do, that's absolutely fine. I don't, I have no issue with that. But you've heard me, and for that I thank you. Just the same way is that I should be hearing and accepting your opinions and valuing those. It doesn't mean to say that should end up in a conflict.
And, in a situation, there's no one that wants to lose. Everybody wants to win, but you can't always win. And people just want to be heard right now, Tania,
They
and
do.
with, with an open heart and an open ear, there will be changes. There's a lot of people that have made a lot of mistakes. Every single one of us has made a mistake. Every single one of us has made a judgment about someone. Every single one of us at one time in our life has said something rude or disrespectful or laughed or joked, maybe bullied, maybe hit. That is, that's a part of the process, be it at 40 years old or being at 4 years old. Each one of us. So I ask you, brains, is to hold a mirror in front of your face and ask yourself, what part have I played? Don't worry about trying to fix others. It's great to be in a collective group, to have a strong voice, to echo. But if you don't really realize the part that you have played, what part have you played? Where's been your character actor? You can't do better. You can't change other individuals until we see who we really are. Use guidance, use tools, use information, use ancient wisdom. If this is of comfort to you, I like to dibble and dabble. And then I always keep notes, brains, to see if it manifests. And a lot of times it does come true. It does come true. And it is just a way to help you navigate through difficult situations, to give you a deeper insight, to give you a cosmic view, the helicopter view, as they say, of life. And I thank you so much, Tania, for being here with us on the edge to talk about it and to explain it, to work with us in our place of ignorance, again, because ignorance is not knowing. That's not a bad thing, as long as we have great facilitators and people like you to guide us through it and take the time and have the care and the wisdom to help us get through it, because, it's a lot of heavy lifting and we all are going through this together. This is not just the United States. This is not just Black people. This is not just senior citizens. This is the entire world. It is the perfect pause. So please tell my brains how to get in contact with you. They want to follow you on social media, if they want to go in and do a little bit more deep diving and work with you one-on-one, how do they get in contact with you?
So, like I said, I've tried to dissect this down to a very small thing. Is that obviously tarot card reading is one small section of what I do. I incorporate, as I say, a lot more of the horoscope stuff into the work I do with individuals. And as I say, it's not a case of just pulling cards. It is a case of completely connecting with another individual and coming from a place of empathy and trying to understand where you are on your personal journey, okay? If somebody wanted to get hold of me, they can have a look on my Facebook page. So they just have to put my name in with Tania Wiemer and it'll come up. I have two pages actually, just my main Facebook page, and I also have a page which has got called Healing Hands. I spend an hour and a half with each and every individual, and we will go through where you were to the process you are at the moment, and then how you wish to then navigate it, or help navigate you to the next phase of your life in a more positive way. On my page, I actually have a lot of information. It takes me half a day some of the time to actually put up the posts that I do. There are free posts there people can go and have a look on. It's for collective individuals. It can be for 4 elements. So I incorporate the astrology on one aspect, and I also do tarot card readings for the zodiac signs and then elements and collectively as well. And as I say, I go so much more in depth than clearly just sort of saying about what a moon cycle is, and it's about all the way where the planets are astrologically, where they may be impacting on global events, and it will also be on your individual events as well. So as I say, and I've kind of like just given you a very brief element of what a card means, or very basic aspect to it. It's a lot more intrinsic than that. So
this, this is years of training, and it's ever evolving and ever training. So we do not take lightly what you have done. I don't. I have the utmost respect, for you and for your gift, because it is a gift. To be able to be in tune and to be insightful and not be fearful, and to be a conduit of change and a channel for others' information. It's a lot. And so I thank you so much for coming here and being with us all the way from the UK and sharing with my brains on the edge about what you do and what we can do to try to be a better person and be prepared for at least the next 4 weeks. Because, at this point, we don't even know what's going to happen in the next 4 minutes.
Well, what I've got, as I say, and I will be putting a post up later on this evening, actually. I kind of withheld doing it today, but it will be all about the eclipse that's just taken place, what will then be coming up, all about where the astrology is based for the next 4 weeks. So if anybody wished to have a look at that in the next couple of days, that will be up. And it will also be the tarot cards around that as well, and predictions for it. I did, and I would like to say to you actually, April, if you yourself wanted to go back, and I know there's a little thing there to say about the post that I put up in December, actually, about my predictions, about this whole 2020 going into 21. This is a massive big thing about relationships. It starts off with the immediate relationships, about how personal relationships, one-on-one relationships, are going to start breaking away, into now where we're going to start having that personal relationship with ourselves, where our values lay, how our values may change, how our opinions may change, and how diversity is going to be a massive, it's going to be huge. How we're going to see a lot of divisions in society, even within our own homes and our own communities. And I think this is the very sad aspect of it. But it may well, hopefully, is a necessity to happen to kind of get this shift in, and maybe bring people finally, in the most bizarre ways, back together. I think it's going to be very, very emotional, and I think it's going to be very difficult.
I don't know how much more emotion we can drum up, but it's there. It's definitely there at the forefront. So again, thank you so much, Tania, for being here on the edge with us. I appreciate you. we'll be following you, and we will definitely, connect with you again, and maybe in the next 4 weeks, and see where we are at that point. Okay.
Okay, thank you, April.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye, Brains.